showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Welcome to episode 140 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name is Chris Hollifield. I'm the host. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. However you're listening to it, I can't urge you enough to head on over to the website, iamsaltlake.com. That's where you can download some of the previous episodes. Been having some really great conversations with some locals here in the Salt Lake City area, and you can find those episodes on the website. You can also find them on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Mediocre Radio Network, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. You can find the I Am Salt Lake podcast. So head on over to iTunes or however you listen to podcasts and check out some of those previous episodes after you're done listening to this episode that you're listening to right now. Got a great show for you guys today. Local stand-up comedian Christopher James came over to my apartment and we sat down and we chatted, got to know his story a little bit better and kind of how he's got to where he's at today with stand-up comedy, some filmmaking that he's involved with, podcasts that he wants to get started. I mean, this guy is full of so much energy and so many ideas, and I'm excited to get to know him a little bit better. He's been listening to the podcast for a while, so it was really neat to bring a listener of the podcast and kind of find out more about them and get to know them and see what they're doing here in Salt Lake City to make it a better place. I'm going to be playing that conversation here in just a second, but I want to mention one of the sponsors of the podcast, Crucial Fest. Thank you so much, Crucial Fest, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. You can find their website at crucialfest.com. The fest is going on here in Salt Lake City, June 4th through the 7th. It's the fourth Crucial Fest. Really, really excited. Great lineup of bands. You can go to the website. You can buy your wristbands early, $30. It's a great deal for all the bands that are going to be playing and are part of the event. Give them a follow on Twitter and Facebook. Let them know you heard about them on the I Am Salt Lake podcast. Also want to mention Peach Treats. Thank you so much, Tiff Blue at Peach Treats, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. You could check out the Etsy site at peachtreats.etsy.com. Custom ear art made right here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And if you enter in the coupon code of I Am Salt Lake, all one word, I-A-M Salt Lake, you get 20% off of your entire order at peachtreats.etsy.com. Also, give Peach Treats a follow on Facebook. Just search for Peach Treats. And that way you could check out all of the awesome stuff that she's been making and where she's going to be at over the summer. I know she's typically at the downtown farmers market at Pioneer Park over farmers market season. She's also at Craft Sabbath. A lot of events coming up this summer that I know you could check out Peach Treats. Again, the coupon code is I Am Salt Lake. That gets you 20% off of your entire purchase at peachtreats.etsy.com. Hey, I want to thank everybody that came out to the Insta Walk, the first Insta Walk that we did this year. The Spring Insta Walk. You can see all the pictures by typing in the hashtag Spring Insta Walk SLC. Check out some of the awesome photos. A lot of really great individuals. Got to meet some listeners at this event. It was a really great time that we had over this past weekend. And I want to thank everybody that came out to that. I plan on doing a few more over the summer. So however you're connected to me, whether that's through Twitter, Facebook, or if you just listen to the podcast, I'll let you guys know about any of the future walks that we do, any of the photo walks. And it's a really good time. I mean, you get to meet some great individuals and take photos and explore areas of Salt Lake City that you might typically overlook. Also want to thank the Urban Lounge for their support. The website, theurbanloungeslc.com, where you can find a complete listing of all of the bands that are going to be coming up there. I know some of the bands for Crucial Fest are actually going to be playing at the Urban Lounge. Crucial Fest, some of that's going to be going on there at the Urban Lounge. So give them a follow on Twitter and Facebook. theurbanloungeslc.com. Thank you, Urban Lounge. I'm going to quit talking. So why don't you guys, let's join me now as I talk to Christopher James as he came over to my apartment here in downtown Salt Lake City. All right, let's do this. Christopher James,
Hello, sir.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story a little bit. I kind of want to find out, for people listening, this is kind of their opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. They might have seen you do some open mics around town. Were you born here in Utah?
I was not. I'm actually originally from Texas, and I moved here when I was 8.
8 years old to Salt Lake City, Utah, or where did you move to?
Yeah, about Salt Lake City. My mom came here to find her dad. So we moved from Texas to do that, which I totally was all for that because at the time I didn't know my father. Like I spent like 20 years trying to find my dad. So at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I can respect that. We'll go to Utah. We ended up like, settling up with like a Mormon family, and, my mom ended up marrying, their son within like 4 days. So it was a very weird situation, but I've been here off and on since then.
So she was in search of her dad. Did she ever find her dad?
Yeah. We, I would say like after a week or so coming here, I met my grandfather and everything, but, they never got close.
First time ever meeting him. First time ever.
Well, she had met him when
but it was your first time.
Yeah, it was my first time.
And how old were you? 8 years, 8 years old. I mean, what was that experience like, or were you too young to really?
Oh no, I remember all that shit from like, I'm way good with my memory with my past. So it was a fun experience. I mean, he was a nice guy, but at the same time, he just really didn't want to be a part of like my mom's life. So it was really stressful on her. And it made me like really like nervous about eventually meeting my father, which happened when I was like 25.
Wow.
So, like, the story with my dad...
And was your dad here in Utah?
No, he lives in Texas. So, with my dad, my mom dated him when she was about 17, and he's about 5 or 10 years older than her. So, she got pregnant, and, he kind of freaked out and said, oh, that's not my kid, when they broke up. Then I was born.
A typical guy, pretty much, right?
Yeah. So, fast forward, like, 5 years later, him and my mom were talking while he's in jail. He's about to get out. They end up meeting up, and I met him when I was 5. And when I was 5, like I was a really skinny kid. So he's like, "Oh yeah, that's not my kid," So we fast forward like 20 years later. I see on Facebook, like I've given up like a few years before that, but off and on within the 20 years, I would try to find him again. Like no luck.
Why did you want to find him? Just to get that relationship with your dad?
Yeah, just
you wanted to know what it was like to have a father.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I grew up like I'm the only guy in my family. And I just grew up like not having that experience of a father, and I wanted to know more about my origins, who's my dad? I've only heard stories about this guy that look exactly alike. Me and him look so much alike, and I'm like, my mom would tell me all these stories like, oh, you look just like your father. Here's some stuff about him, and I'd always ask, but my mom seemed to get like really resentful, as I got older, the more I looked like him. It was just like a constant reminder of that like hardship from her first love.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to find him, I just wanted to know more about him.
See, and I was a similar way with my father, and that's why I find it interesting. It's like, I didn't really know my dad for a long time. We'd be in touch, but there was many years between the ages of 17 and like 32 that there was like no contact whatsoever. Maybe the occasional phone call. And that's why I find it interesting.
Well, the only reason why I found him was a simple twist of fate, as I like to call it. I was on Facebook and I saw a friend on there that wrote a long story about how she helped one of her friends find their father. And that was my like inspiration to give it one last try. So I went on Google, I put in his name, I put in I knew some of his family members' names. I ended up finding like, my aunt's name. And, I got her phone number, left a message on there, and just waited for like a week. And finally I got a call from her like saying like, cause I left the whole like backstory like, hey, I'm Kenny's son, and I'm trying to find him. I really want to get connected with him. If you could, like, give him my number or something. So she calls me back. They were on a trip, and she's like, yeah, I'm going to give your dad your number. So I waited for a little bit, and he ended up adding me on Facebook, because he's a little skeptical.
Your dad added you on Facebook.
So we chatted a little bit, but he was skeptical. I mean, like, you're, like, in your 40s or 50s, and some, like, kid, like, out of the blue says, hey, guess what? You're my dad. So I can understand he was standoffish about it. So it took a little bit of us talking on Facebook and stuff, and then texting, and eventually we talked on the phone, and we started to get really close. And I got to the point where I was going to fly out there.
To Texas?
Yeah. So I was dating a girl at the time. We were living together, and she's like, do you want me to go out there with you? And I'm like, no, this is something I really want to do myself. So I flew out there by myself. And the whole way there, I was nervous. Like, I had known him, we were talking, it was great, I was excited, but at the same time, like, I'm gonna see my father.
For the first time.
Yeah. And it was really just like, it was really,
Describe that feeling. I'm getting off the airplane. Was he there to meet you at the airport?
yeah. So I like,
was he holding up a big sign? Christopher!
No.
Yeah.
That would have been even more awkward.
With a dozen red roses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A very nice bachelor situation. Like, hi.
So he's there at the airport. I mean, talk about that. This is fascinating.
So I was nervous the whole way there, and just like I got to Houston and I was waiting for my connected flight, and my heart was just like pounding. I'm like, I'm getting that much closer. Like, I hope he's not, I mean, he seems nice and everything, but I hope he's not like a dick, you know, because unfortunately my mom like never really liked talking about him, and she would get kind of upset when she talked about him. So in my head, I'm like, maybe he's secretly a douche. Maybe that's why he's not around. But I kind of wanted to form my own opinion about him. So I didn't let anything like that like get in my head. So I get off the little charter plane, and it was a really small airport because he lives in this like little rural like Texas town. So I get off there and I'm searching for him, you know, waiting for my bag. I get my bag and I'm looking for him, and I see him.
So you saw recent photos of him.
Yeah,
you knew what he looked like.
Yeah, well, he looks so much alike. Like I'll show you a picture like later if you want. But so the more I get closer to him, and I'm just like, holy shit, like it's happening.
Yeah.
And I walk up and I put my hand out to shake his hand because I really don't know like what to do.
What do you do? Give him
he just hugged me.
Man.
He was there with his wife. Like he just hugged me, and it's like my dad's got a really thick Southern accent, so it was weird. I see an older version of me with a Southern accent. I was like, that whole like feeling of relief as soon as I like met him was great. And I spent a week out there, and that whole week we were just having a good time, you know. And then we got to the point where we went out to lunch, and I had to ask him like, what happened?
Of course.
Because
yeah,
for years,
what's going on?
Yeah, for years I'd heard everything from my mom, you know, like all the stories, like why he wasn't around, stuff like that. So I had to ask him myself, you know, why weren't you there? Like, is this story true and stuff like that? So I ended up being like, I just had to lay it down.
Yeah.
And he told me his side of it. He said, well, here's what's happened. Your mom was really young. You know, I didn't know what was going on. I was in that mindset where like I had a lot of shit going on in my life. I was addicted to drugs. I was in and out of jail.
Well, they were both really young.
Well, my dad's like 10 years older than her. So she was like 19. He was like 20 something, almost 30. Like he just said he wasn't in the right mind. You know, he's in and out of jail, addicted to drugs. And then I asked him about the whole thing, like, when I was 5. I was like, we met up. You guys, like, talked. We met. Like, we had a nice little bonding moment. I woke up really late at night when I was 5, and him and my mom were talking on the couch. So I went there, and me and him chit-chatted, and there's this picture I have of me and him, like, on the couch talking and laughing. He's, like, tickling me and everything. And, like, I always had that, like, over the years. Like,
he was tickling you when you visited him. This last time.
No.
When you were younger.
Yeah.
I was hoping he was tickling you when.
No, I think that'd be really weird. Like a 50-year-old man tickling like a mid 20s guy. I mean, like he's my father and everything. Was like, that's like him like spanking me in public because I'm being a little dick, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be funny if he was tickling you now.
It would because I laugh like freaking Roseanne.
Do you like to be tickled?
Not really.
No. Anyways, sorry. Kind of steered.
No. It's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's like, it sounded like you have a tickle fetish. Like you like to be tickled. Yeah. Tell me more.
Well, we're gonna tickle each other. That's, I don't share that on the show a lot, but after we're done recording, we usually spend an hour tickling.
I wonder what that bucket of peacock feathers was over there.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get that out later. So anyways, you're hanging out with your dad. I mean, did you plan on staying that? You said a week. You went down there for a week.
Yeah, I planned on staying a week.
But was there a part of you where it was like, what if this doesn't work out after a day? What am I going to do? I mean,
I always have a backup plan. So I had money for a hotel.
Okay, so you were ready for a backup plan.
Yeah, I originally was going to stay at a hotel when I got there. He's like, no, just stay with me. And I'm like, okay. So back to the whole thing, like when I was 5, like he was telling me that him and my mom were talking at that time while he was in jail, and they were talking about getting back together. And, he just told her to wait for him. So what happened is, I guess, like, she wasn't faithful to him, like, while he was in jail, so they never got back together. And my mom never told me that through the years.
Well, of course. I mean, that would be awkward to tell her son I wasn't faithful.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I never wanted any money or anything like that from my dad. I just wanted to know him. So as soon as he gave me that opportunity to be a part of his life, all of that was forgiven. You know, and now, like, he's, like, my biggest fan. Like, the whole reason why, like, I film my comedy sets besides, like, critiquing myself is so he can watch them. Like, every time I do a show, and I put it up on Facebook or whatever, he gathers his friends together and says, come watch my son, come watch him, you know, do some jokes. It's going to be great. You know, and I love that about him. Like,
you're giving me goosebumps.
He's so supportive about that. And I love that about him. He's great. And, you know, he's so proud of me doing comedy because he's like, oh yeah, I was the class clown when I was a kid. So it's good to see my son who's a comedian. You know, and that whole week I was there, it was great. We went to the movies together. We went out for lunch. We went to little, like, parties, like little Texas-style parties with him and his friends. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I had, like, a family. Like, I have my own family, and it's great and everything, but they're, like, everybody's, like, we're all, like, a family of black sheeps in my family. So, like, we never get together for holidays or anything like that, so it was really weird. But going there, they were, like, supportive of me right away. And, like, I finally felt, like, whole. You know, because my whole life I've been without my dad. I have this whole other family I don't know about. And when I just meet them and be a part of their life, it's great. It's that great feeling. And they're so funny and nice. And like my grandmother, like his mom and his dad were so like accepting. Like,
does he have other children that you met or no?
I have not met. I have an older brother, like an older half brother I've yet to meet. And him, those two are kind of on again, off again. But just like me and my dad, like formed that bond like right away. You know?
Nice, yeah.
The funny story is, like, after I, like, on my way to the airport, or actually when I got to the airport, the security guard saw me, like, hugging my dad, saying goodbye, and meet him waving to each other. He's like, oh, so the security guard's like, why are you here? Like, it seems like you having a nice time with your family member. And I'm like, oh, that's my dad. Like, I spent like 20 years trying to find him, and I finally found him, and it's, you know, it's great. It turned out really great. Like, I had a big smile on my face. Like, I felt like I had this whole 20-year journey, and I finally accomplished it. And the security guard's like, oh, wow, you just really made my day. That's incredible. You know, and just hearing that, it's like, it is. And ever since then, like, I've been out there a second time, talk to my dad all the time. Like I said, he watches my little comedy shows that I put up there. It's great. Like,
so, I mean, Facebook actually is a pretty good tool then. I mean,
yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people say, oh, you know, screw Facebook.
Yeah,
but I mean,
it
brought you together.
Yeah. Without Facebook and that post, I would have never tried again. I would have gave up, always resenting like him and myself for not trying and succeeding. So there's a lot of years I went just hating myself that I didn't accomplish finding it.
Do you ever think of moving closer to Texas to be closer to him at all? Or
I want to. I almost moved out there a few years ago just so I can like, because I've been around my mom so much and my family. Like, I kind of wanted to give being out there with him, but at the same time, it's like, I can't really do comedy out there.
Why couldn't you do comedy? Because like, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the area. Yeah. And I asked him about it. He said, there's really not that much bars around where I live that would do comedy. You have to go to Houston all the time.
Well, I bet you Houston has an incredible comedy scene.
From what I heard.
You know?
There's a lot of big time like comics who go out there and do shows, but my whole life plan is like, I want to do comedy here. I want to kind of get my name out there and stuff, you know, start doing some shows in Vegas and California. I want to build a really good foundation here.
Yeah.
You know,
well, before we jump way ahead,
sure.
I want to find out getting into comedy. Let's talk about your first experience.
That's a kind of interesting story.
No, and that's what I'm here to find out about. I mean, the progression. I mean, how long have you been well, let's rephrase that. Your first time, how long ago was that? When open mic? When did you do that?
I wanted to go to Wise Guys open mic on my 18th birthday, but that never happened. So I went when I was 20.
And you're 29 now.
Yeah. So I've been doing it off and on. I took like 4 years off of comedy to try to pursue filmmaking, but that's jumping ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So my first show, I got a couple of my best friends and my friend's father-in-law to go. And I wrote this little like set. I was nervous as all fuck. Like, I get up on stage and I just do these stupid little jokes about stuff like that's happened in my life. Like, I hate being a fat guy, you know, because we have plumber's crack all the time. So my friends are always putting pencils in my like butt crack. So it's like, fuck Office Space, just come to my ass, you know, with all your office needs. And I was nervous. So I was pacing back and forth, telling jokes on the stage, just like walking back and forth, like, oh, this, you know, and I went up there. It's a good 3 minutes. And, there's a local comic, or actually about 3 local comics over there I'm still friends with. Jose Bascio was, the MC at my first show. And, my buddies, Kevin Gillingham and Mike M., who are part of that whole Joker's Gone Wild, with Marcus Goisler. those two were there, and I've been friends with those two ever since. And, you know, they came up to me, some other comics said, oh, you're really funny, you should come back. So eventually I would come back and do shows for a little bit. You know, I couldn't do bar shows because I wasn't 21 yet, so I had to wait until I turned 21 in order to do that. But I had a kind of okay start. I was kind of limiting myself. I would only go to places I was familiar with. And with comedy, it's like you got to hit every stage you can.
Yeah.
Which is what I've been doing for the past year. And it was a fun experience the first time.
So like a 3-minute set.
Yeah.
You got up there. I mean, what did you get? Some laughs?
Yeah, surprisingly, that whole joke I just told surprisingly got some good laughs. You know, people love a chubby guy who makes fun of himself, surprisingly.
Absolutely.
You know, it's kind of like they look at you like, oh, that guy realizes he's fat and he's okay with it. You know, he's okay to joke about himself. If you can laugh at yourself, then that's perfect. I kind of have this philosophy like you can't be a funny person if you can't laugh at yourself. You don't really deserve the right to laugh if you can't laugh about yourself. You know, if someone makes fun of you, you can be like, oh, fuck you, you know? But you'll go and laugh about someone else being made fun of. If someone makes fun of me, I'll laugh and be like, oh, yeah, you're right.
Well, you have to have some confidence.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and I think that's important as a stand-up comedian to have that confidence.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to get my confidence back, and then I quit for a while.
What made you quit?
So I put up my first show at a downtown hookah lounge. And that night was fucking horrible. So I contacted this guy who worked there about doing a comedy show. I wanted to get my comedian friends and get it together. And I was really psyched about it. He said he's going to set everything up. He set up the flyers. He's going to get all the mics and everything taken care of. He's going to advertise for us. So I was really excited about it. And then I get there and I go to the bar and I'm like, hey, we're doing a comedy show tonight. Where do you want us to set up? And they just looked at me with this blank stare like, what the fuck are you talking about? So it turns out the guy that I was in contact with was quitting 2 weeks before the show. So he didn't tell anybody. He didn't advertise for anything. So I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? So they didn't have a mic there. They had to go to a bar next door to get the mic. We had to Kevin Gillingham and Mike M were part of the show, so they were pulling people off the street. And this is around Christmas time, so we had 3 people dressed up like Santa Claus being pulled off the street to come see the show. I'm having a panic attack because I'm having people I invited show up. They're like, when's it gonna start? You know, I can only be here till about 11. And I'm just like, fuck. I was having a severe panic attack. And finally, we got something set up. We ended up doing it in we were going to do it in the main room, but we ended up getting about 15 people that actually sticked around. So we did it upstairs, and it was an okay show. They gave us a nice little bar tab, to say, we're sorry that this happened. We know the guy. That's why he doesn't work here anymore. So I guess I was just overly embarrassed about that I just wanted to take a break for a while. You know, I'm a way big time movie nerd, so I've been writing little screenplays here and there, and I wanted to pursue that more. So after that whole big embarrassment, I was like, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to focus on filming stuff. And I did for about 4 years. I mean, I wasn't successful at it, but I learned a lot of things.
Just self-taught, or did you take classes anywhere?
Just self-taught. I read a lot of books. I would run around town grabbing books that I would see suggested online. And I feel stupid saying this, but those For Dummies books are incredibly
I love
helpful.
them.
So I got the filming one about that, the filmmaking one, the screenwriter one. And I learned a lot, and I would film little skits here and there. I would help people with filming stuff. Nothing really ever came out of it, but it was a great learning experience to where if I ever go back to it, which there's some little projects I want to be working on soon with filmmaking, that I learned all that experience from it to where now that if I ever want to do it again, I know how to do it right instead of fucking around.
So you're not doing anything with filming then now?
Kind of, sort of. I kind of want to do little short films there's a local comic here people know, Jackson Banks.
Yeah.
Me and him have talked about doing little shorts that I've pitched to him about doing a little online thing where we'll do a couple of shorts and put them up on there. I thought about pitching a TV series, but there's this guy. The guy has the most amazing comedy career and exactly the career I'd want for myself. His name's Wiley Roberts. He's a comic, and he also wrote for Mad TV for 4 or 5 years. So he came to the open mic one night, and we all went to I think it was Denny's afterwards or something, and we just sat and talked with him, and I was asking him all these questions and stuff. I told him I loved Mad TV, I love the shit that you wrote, you know, I really want to go from comedy to writing for film and TV. So he gave me all this advice. Like he told me, oh, you did a really good set, but I was wearing like one of those Bill Murray like chive shirts. And he told me like the best advice I can give you is don't wear a shirt with something like that on stage. It distracts people. I mean, you're doing great jokes, but I could tell myself I was distracted, by that big Bill Murray thing on your shirt. So I took that into consideration, and he would just give me tips on what to write and stuff. And I ended up hitting him up and like forwarding him my like treatment for TV. Like, hey, I want to get this out there.
Yeah.
Like, can you read it and give me some advice on it? He read it. He said, it's funny. It's great. The best advice I can tell you is just put it on the internet. Do a web series. So I kind of want to start doing that, like, eventually, too.
Well, there's a lot of money. I mean, look at YouTube. Look at, people have become successful filmmakers by putting their web series on YouTube. YouTube. I mean, that's really all you need.
Yeah, well, look at, like, fucking Paranormal Activity. They just did a little, like, security film short online, and now they're fucking insanely successful. So any advice that guy gives me, I'm going to take it to heart. So that's what I want to do, is kind of start a web series and kind of do that.
And what's stopping you? Anything?
It's just, unfortunately, like, comedians here, we have to have a day job. I mean, you have a day job too.
Absolutely.
That stops me having money for equipment, stuff like that. So I'm just kind of networking, meeting people who want to be a part of it and like gonna go from there. Me and Jackson have talked. I mean, he goes to school, so he wants to wait till he's done with school, to get that done, like his semester. And I really want to just hit hard, like short films and filming that this year.
Yeah. There's not enough hours in the day.
Really, there's not.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we've talked about how I want to do a podcast, like a little movie nerd podcast. I mean, I'm trying to like punch up like this script that I want to submit to Sundance. I mean, I've wrote screenplays here and there, but this is like my only dramatic thriller that I've ever wrote. And I put it on the back burner just because, I feel I'm confident enough that it would get me in the door, but my whole fear of it is if I do a dramatic thriller and then like flip to like a call center, like dick joke comedy movie, it's going to look weird. So I always put that on the back burner for like 5 years. And then there's this guy I used to work at Blockbuster with in Layton. And
Layton? What were you doing in Layton? Did you used to live up that way?
I did. I moved to Layton, I want to say like 6 years ago. I was living in North Salt Lake.
For what reason? Why?
Just a change of scenery.
You're like, okay, randomly, I just want to move to North Salt Lake just to.
Well, I was living in North Salt Lake and I moved to like.
Oh,
Layton.
Okay. So you moved from North Salt Lake to Layton just for a change of scenery.
Yeah, like North Salt Lake was my first apartment. I had it from like when I was 18 till about 22.
But why not Spanish Fork or Payson? I mean, there's a change of scenery.
I think that's too much. Of a
okay, yeah.
For me.
Anyway, so sorry. So you moved to Layton, Blockbuster Video. You're working up there.
Yeah, I was working at Blockbuster, like the Hillfield Road one. I believe it is closed now.
Well, I don't think there's any Blockbusters open now, right?
Closed. It's a ghost town of Blockbusters. I moved there and I just got done working at like Layton Hills Mall, so I've been living at my place for about a year. And I was dating this amazing girl at the time. And when I was working at Blockbuster, she would come in, she like say hi and stuff. And my buddy Burgess, he worked there, and I told him about this little screenplay I wrote, and it's based on my like own fear, about how like what if you had like a seemingly perfect life and you woke up one day and it wasn't real. So I pitched this whole thing to him about like, what if this guy had a perfect life? He has a great girl. He has a great job. He's about to propose to his girl on their anniversary. She says yes, but they're about to walk out and he gets hit by a car protecting her from being hit. And he ends up waking up in a hospital and seeing his brother who's dead, who we thought was dead, telling him he's been in a coma for 5 years. And the doctor's like his boss. So all the people he's like thought in his perfect life he's been interacting with have been people that have been interacting with him in the hospital. Like the girl he's in love with is a nurse. His boss is a doctor. So it's one of those weird mind fucks that like at the end, it's a really fucked up ending. Like really like holy shit kind of ending. And he loved it. And I'm just like, I love comedy stuff. So I want to stick with that. I want that to be my opener. So I put it on the back burner for a while. And then flash forward to like, I want to say like 6 months ago. I saw him on like one of my buddies who I had like audition and was going to be a part of my like failed call center like independent film, which is a story in itself. I saw those two in a picture together because I guess like the Burgess guy like now does his own little indie film kind of stuff. So I like hit him up on Facebook like, oh man, I don't know if you're going to remember me, but we used to work at Blockbuster forever ago. And I told you about this like random dramatic thriller, I thought about doing. And right away he's like, oh yeah, I remember you. What's up? How you been? So we chit-chatted and like, we've Skyped a couple of times and talked on the phone and,
does he still live here
he does.
In the area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say he lives in Sandy, but so we've been talking about doing that as an indie film. And, I've been like trying to punch up like the script, like finalize some things in some drafts I've been working with. But as you said, there's so many hours in a day. I mean, I work, I do comedy like 3 to 5 times a week. I have insomnia so bad that I have to like watch movies just to fall asleep. I'm always writing stuff, whether it be jokes or little short film ideas.
So your brain is always going a million miles a minute.
All the time.
Yeah.
Then of course I get distracted by the ladies.
Yeah, those ladies will get you, man.
They are.
It's funny because it's like you want them, but then you don't want them at the same time.
I know. Like you have to like, it's like that whole Seinfeld episode where he's like fighting with his brain and his like penis, they're playing chess. That's how it really is. Like your brain wants to like be successful, but your dick's like, come on, man, we deserve a little bit of fun. We've been working hard. Why not? So you're at that struggle, that internal struggle the whole time.
Yeah.
So if I gotta like say, no, I gotta focus on this shit. The ladies, they will come later.
So you get out. I mean, is there enough places here in Salt Lake to get out and do some stand up?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you go outside of Salt Lake at all?
Well, like, I'll go outside of Salt Lake, but mainly the stuff I do is in Salt Lake. Like, this whole year, part of my whole resolution, I have like a couple resolutions, but part of it is just to hit every stage that I can. Any comic you will listen to talking about a podcast or a radio show will get people coming up to them, like even the famous ones, people will come up to them saying, how did you get famous? What advice can you give to a comedian who wants to start out? And they say the same thing every time. Hit as much stages as you can. If you don't, then you're never going to be successful. If you limit yourself to one place, you're just going to be stuck at that one place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in January, I hit any stage I can.
Where's the furthest you've gone?
I just headlined in Ogden at About Time Pub and Grub. And that was the farthest I went. And that was a fun show.
Just local comics at that event?
Yeah, like Travis Rasmussen hit me up about it, and Nicholas Don Smith was there. Kevin Gillingham came to show some support, so did Marcus Weisler. Mike M came. Some of the other local comics came. Ryan Olds is a guy that I met doing Moe's. It was a fun show. Like, I was pretty nervous, so I got really drunk. It was the first 30-minute set I ever did, so...
So you did a 30-minute set.
I actually went over. I did 48.
Wow.
Because they didn't stop me, so I'm like, I assumed like they were going to give me a light. So I planned my whole 30-minute set, and then after that, I'm like, okay, maybe I just went faster than I thought. So I ended up just keep going, and then the guy finally came up next to the stage, and I'm like, okay, good night.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you have any concept of time when you're up there? I've always wondered that, like even a 3-minute set, it's like, do you have any idea how long you're up there? I mean, is there any way to tell?
I mean, some of the like cool places like Wise Guys will have a clock underneath the stage or up top on the lights. Time stands so still when you're up there on stage. It's just like, it's like that whole Matrix scene where like everything's going by so slow. It's kind of blissful in a way. Like you're up there and time just stands still and you're just belting your jokes and everything. And it's great. I mean, it's a great experience.
You get like a rush from it.
Yeah. Oh, like that's
like a drug.
It is. It really is like a drug. I'm totally addicted to it. That's why another reason why I hit up stages so much. But I just like making people laugh. I've loved making people laugh my whole life. And that's why like Monday, like, Jackson Banks and, I want to say, Jonathan Falconer have a show at the U, the open mic at the U, so I'll try to make that. But since I take the bus, it's like I don't get home till like almost 12, so I don't hit that one up as much. And then Tuesdays I'll hit up Moe's. Like you were there this week, so that was it's such a fun place.
That was my first time checking out the Moe's open mic. I mean, they do that every week there.
Yeah, it's Johnny Brandon runs it. The first time I went there, Nicholas Don Smith was headlining, and so he needed me and Taylor Lou Hunsaker to like showcase. So it was my first time there. And after that, I've been hooked ever since. And I got to host one night, and the night I hosted, it was surprisingly packed.
Well, it was packed the night. I couldn't even find a seat. I was like, where the hell am I going to sit down here?
Lately.
You know? And it's free to get in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's great about it.
It's been getting so much buzz lately, and it's just growing. It's a great, it's just a little like 80s, 90s looking diner on the inside, but it's so much fun. And like doing stand-up comedy, you're in a community within a community of itself, you know, and it's such a great experience to be a part of that. We're like our own little, like I said, community, just a bunch of people questing for the same dream and enjoying just being around each other and just bouncing jokes off each other. And that room is like I love doing Wise Guys open mic too. That's like way fun too. That's my Wednesday slot, as I like to call it. But so I hosted Moe's, and I didn't even want to do any material. If I MC, it's all about the comics. So anytime they would go up there, I would think of a quick-witted thing to say when they got off stage or to intro them. So I was just bouncing these little quick-witted things, and it surprisingly got a pretty good response. And it was great. It was a fun experience. But anytime I go to Moe's, it's like hanging out with a bunch of friends, you know? And it's supportive. Like any open mic you go to is really supportive. But,
and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, your comedian friends are, you know, you got to hang out with like-minded people that are kind of headed in that same direction.
Yeah, that's why I like being a part of like the Salt Lake comedy community, you know? Like I said, we're just our own little community.
Do you feel that everybody here is pretty supportive of each other?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, tons of people are supportive. You know, like there's like even the bigger guys around here, like, you know, Guy Seidel, I've talked to him a lot. He's really supportive. You know, Jay Whitaker's really supportive. A lot of those guys, like Christian Piper's been like emceeing like the open mics, and he's way supportive with that. He's like really good host there. That's why another reason why I like going to like Wise Guys on Wednesday. And you've done some opening for some bigger names at Wise Guys, or you had your first opportunity recently? I had my first opportunity last week, and it was talk about awesome. That. I mean, what was that? How did that opportunity arise for you? I like to go, like, another thing about being in a community is I love going to shows, whether it be local people, and I love supporting the local comics. I'll go to any one of their shows. And it's great just to see, like, your comedian buddy up there just belting jokes and having a great time. But at the same time, it's also great to be on the opposite side of that. Like, share that experience with the crowd. You know, usually we're up there telling jokes, and we can't see the crowd. We can just hear them. It's like going up there blind. So being a part of that crowd and experience is fun. But at the same time, you're supporting your friends up there. But, so I went to the, I want to say, TJ Miller show it was around January. How was that show, by the way? Was that hilarious or what? Hilarious. Yeah. Like, I have never seen TJ Miller's like stand up before that. I wanted to go in fresh. So after that, I was instantly hooked. And he's like a totally funny guy and nice dude. And, I went up to Keith Stubbs after. I'm like, hey, Orny Adams is coming to town. I'm a huge fan of his. Is there any way that I can open for him? So, just went first time ever talking to Keith? I've talked to Keith here and there. I opened for Spencer King, like, I want to say in February. Okay. And that was fun too. Spencer King's another, like, really funny. Great local comedian, yeah. So I went up to Keith and said, hey, I really want to open for Orny. He was here last time. I'm a huge fan of his. You know, he's a great comic. He's really hardworking. It'd be an honor for me to open for him. So I emailed Keith back and forth for a little bit. And then finally, last Friday, he came to a show and he hit me up about a week or two before and said, hey, do you want to do a 3-minute slot? And I was like, yes, right away. I'm so happy to do that. So I got there a little bit early, said hi to Orny, like, hey man, how's it going? You know, he remembered me from last time we saw each other. And I went to Christian Piper. I'm like, so what's the lineup? He's like, you're first. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Going first for me makes me so nervous. Why is that? Why? I don't know. Cause you're kind of like you gotta break the ice. You gotta get the whole crowd going. I mean, he does amazingly well when he hosts and breaks the ice and gets the crowd really psyched up. But at the same time, I've got to follow him, you know, and make it a good set, not only for like us, like opening for Orny, but also for like Orny Adams too. I got to make sure the crowd's having a good time and getting psyched up for his show. So I was nervous. I started to calm myself. I had a nice little set. I like to do like one joke for every minute that I do a joke. So I had my set planned. I go up there and I'm just psyched. In my head, I got to psych myself up like I'm opening for one of my favorite comedians. This is you're telling yourself this in your head. Yeah. As you're getting up there on stage. Yeah. I got to psych myself up. Yeah. Like whether it goes good or bad, it's going to be fun. It's opening. Hell of an experience, man. It was an amazing experience. And I go up there, tell my first joke. It went well. And then I tell my second joke. I start to open my second joke. And then like all of a sudden I just get this applause break for like 10 to 15 seconds. And that was amazing. It was that's one of the most amazing.
And was a room just full? Was it packed?
Oh yeah, it was packed.
Was sold out or
no?
No. Yeah.
I think it was sold out.
And this was at Trolley Square.
Yeah,
right?
Trolley Square.
Yeah.
And it was, oh man, that's also a great feeling. Not only doing jokes, but like getting an applause break.
I could imagine.
It's like, I was like up on stage, like, holy shit, I feel like amazing right now. This is like, it's like Viagra for comics, you know? That shot of energy.
Just don't walk off stage with a boner.
Oh no, I hunched over. Thankfully, I've got this chubby thing, so I just hunched over. Yeah. So I got that nice little applause break. Like, I told, I don't know if it's a popular joke, but I told this joke about how I'm kind of a ladies' man, and like, I know it's hard to believe since I look like a chubby lesbian. And that's when everybody started like clapping and did a little applause break. And in my head, I was like, holy, I did not expect that to go so well. And then I just continued on with the joke about how like I like to make a woman feel special, which is why I have a box near my bed full of blue ribbons that say participant, because I want them to go home feeling like a winner.
Could you imagine that though, really giving a girl a ribbon
do it
or a trophy or something, you know, you'd be like, all right, first place, it's third place, you know,
someone gave
best
me,
hand job.
If someone gave me a trophy or a ribbon, it's just that good job, be like, wow, okay. Like, it's one of those like Academy Award speeches. You don't expect you to win, but you're just up there like, wow, what can I say? I'd like to thank Hustler for giving me all those tips on cunnilingus. And I'd like to thank the Playboy channel for all those hot, spicy moves that you gave me. Thank you. Thanks so much. But there's some of those jokes that I base on life, but there's also jokes that I just think are funny, and I like to connect things like weird. Like, one of my favorite jokes to tell is how Mormons are like superheroes. And like, once I tell the joke, people start to make that connection. I'm like, you ever notice how like Mormons are like superheroes? You know, they wear clothing underneath their regular clothing that represents purity and truth, you know, and that's when people click and they just start laughing about it, and I just continue on with it.
It's because you're getting something that they can relate with a little bit. And I think that's important to strike that chord with your audience, you know. Well, in anything you do, musician, comedian, business owner, I think we all can learn from that.
Yeah.
Have you ever had like just somebody like piss anybody off with any of your comedy? Have you ever like kind of touched somebody's, not really tough, but struck a chord with somebody and really pissed them off, and they come up to you maybe afterwards and wanted to fight you or something?
I never had that. I mean, like, I never had anyone in the crowd be like, that's fucked up or that's stupid. But I've had offstage experiences where, with that Mormon joke, it was a tasteful Mormon joke. I wasn't making fun of Mormons or anything. I totally respect their religion, but it was just a nice little tasteful joke, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, maybe Mormons do act like superheroes. And one guy, after I did that for like, I want to say the second or third time, he came up to me afterwards. He's like, I was really offended by that. And I'm like, why? I was actually saying something positive about Mormonism. I wasn't, you know, making fun of you guys. He's like, it was just really stupid. Just don't do it again.
And what do you say then? I mean, did it just totally catch you off guard? Were you like, sorry?
I've been teased and made fun of my whole life.
So you just kind of brush it off.
So I just kind of like quick-witted, like, so you're saying you're going to come to every one of my shows? Great. I'm glad.
Would you like a lifetime membership to all of my comedy shows?
You should follow me on Twitter, because I'll say even more fucked up things. Yeah. But back to the whole Orny thing, because I really want to give him credit, because the reason why he's one of like my favorite comedians, because he's the hardest working guy. He really is. Like, he goes up there with such like energy every single show, and he's fantastic. So it was truly like an honor to like open for him. And I had some friends there, and they like became fans of him like right after that, you know, because they saw how great of a set he does. It was just great. Like, I chit-chatted with him afterwards. I'm like, hey man, that was great. It's such an honor to see you again and open for you, you know. And I had these pictures I printed out from the last time I saw him, so I wanted him to like autograph them for me.
Did you put them on a sweatshirt or a t-shirt, iron-on?
I have this little like fanboy like wall at my place, which is just little framed pictures of all the like comics I've met.
Over your bed?
No. No, that is where the disco ball goes.
Sorry.
That's a little intimate.
I just kind of want to picture your bedroom for a minute.
You know, it's just a magical place.
Yeah.
I have a recording of that I recorded after I got a really good applause. I have it recorded, so I play it after sex. and the ladies think it's for them, but it's for me.
Yeah.
It's like, you did a great job, buddy. Way to go. But at the same time, the ladies are like, wow, maybe I did good. Look at that.
Yeah, he's got a clapping machine. So anyways, I mean, who would be like, I mean, you talked about opening up for Orny. I mean, who would be your all-time dream person?
Ooh,
was he it?
He was one of them, because he's definitely in my top 5.
Yeah.
But like, opening for like Pete Holmes would be amazing. Opening for like Dane Cook would be cool. Dave Chappelle would be awesome. If he was still alive, George Carlin would be amazing to open for.
I'd love to just see George Carlin. I know, right? I mean, I feel cheated that I didn't get an opportunity.
I feel cheated. Like, Dave Chappelle's been here like a couple times, and I've always found out like about it afterwards.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh fuck.
Now what do I do with myself?
There's I have a wide variety of comedians I love. Like I said, I love going to shows and watching them. That's why you get into comedy or anything you get into. You're a fan of it, So I love going to those guys. I love anytime that, like, I saw Aziz Ansari at a Ravenel Hall last year, and that was amazing. It was so funny. Like, this guy who's running the spotlight couldn't follow him that well. So Aziz is like messing with the guy. He just like, oh, see if you can follow me. So he starts running around the stage in a big giant circle, and the crowd just fucking lost it. And I'm laughing my ass off that I'm in tears because the spotlight guy's trying to do the best he can to follow him. And he finally catches him. And then like Aziz stops. He's like, all right, good job, man. I'm glad you're on the ball now. Because the guy was like messing up a little bit, not following him as well.
Yeah.
And you have, in a big venue like that, you got to be lit up really well.
Besides comedy, I mean, it sounds like it pretty much consumes a lot of your life.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any other hobbies or interests? I mean, you mentioned filmmaking as well.
Yeah. I'm a huge movie nerd.
A huge movie. So you watch a lot of movies then?
Yeah, I watch a movie every night.
Every night.
Yeah.
What about TV? Do you get into TV shows at all?
Yeah,
really?
Like, since I don't have cable anymore, so I'll like get those little season passes on iTunes, so I'll watch those. I love How I Met Your Mother, so I watch that.
I love that show.
Little geeky to admit, and it's kind of one of my guilty pleasure shows. I watch Teen Wolf. So
how is that, by the way? Is that pretty good or what?
The whole reason I started watching it is out of spite. When the first episode started, I was like, oh my god, they're taking a classic movie and turning it into a TV show. It's probably going to be shit. And then I watched it and I was hooked. And Orny's on that show too, and he's so funny on that show.
He's on Teen Wolf?
He is, yeah.
Really?
He plays the coach on Teen Wolf.
Okay.
And I wish he would get
I've never watched the show, so.
I got hooked into it. Like another show I was hooked into, and I still am, even though it's off the air, is Smallville. So I would watch that every week. How I Met Your Mother's another show I love that's a TV show. It's Always Sunny. Curb Your Enthusiasm's hilarious. I have like a wide range of shows I watch. The League, like I got into that last year and fucking love it. I thought it was I'm not a sports guy at all. So I'm like, I heard about it. I was like, oh, I don't want to watch people fucking joking around about football. I'm not going to know what the hell they're talking about. But I watched it and they barely talk about sports on that show. And it's fucking hilarious. If you have not, anybody who's listening who has not seen The League, it's on Netflix. Fucking watch it. You will be hooked.
Watch it. And who doesn't have Netflix anymore?
I know. There's no point of like cable or anything anymore. You got iTunes, you've got Netflix, Hulu, that's one of the reasons why I got rid of it. I was paying all these like little like subscription fees to like Hulu and Netflix and shit to the point where like, why would I like have cable if I'm just gonna do this?
I got rid of cable. I mean, I just have, Apple TV and Netflix, and then a friend gave me an HBO Go password.
Nice.
And so now I have the HBO.
HBO has some great shows.
Oh, yeah.
Like Curb Your Enthusiasm, like I was saying, Eastbound and Down. My dad got me into that show.
Love that show. Candy Powers.
Fuck. Danny McBride is hilarious.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys who's just, like, he seems like, from what I heard about him, he's really humble and stuff, but he fucking belts it. He just does amazing stuff.
My brother, I have a brother that lives in California, and he texted me. He's like, you're never going to believe this. I took a flight from New York to California. I got to sit next to Danny McBride.
Holy shit.
And he said he just talked to him the whole time, and he said he is the raddest guy that you will ever get to meet and hang out with.
Yeah, meeting famous people, you
just
get
a humble
nervous.
guy, and I was just like, dude. I mean, he's texting me photos with him sitting next to him and all that, just blown away by it. So where can, people can kind of catch you all around town. People listening here in Salt Lake can kind of find you doing stand up at different places. Like you mentioned, Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights at these places.
Yeah.
Well, where what else do you like about Salt Lake? I mean, besides comedy, I mean, I'm always curious, people that live here, you know, people like different things. Some people are really into the outdoors. Some people are into the city life. Something's keeping you here besides comedy, right? A little bit, maybe. Yeah,
it's really diverse. There's so much, like, when I first moved here, I'm like, oh shit, what the hell am I gonna do? I mean, granted I was 8, but I still love to, like, do stuff. And as I got older, I'm like, oh, like, I'm finally, like, old enough to go to bars and stuff. What am I gonna do? But there's so much stuff that I do here. Like, I'll go, like, Sundance is a fun thing to do. I know that's outside of Salt Lake.
Well, no, it's the area, you know.
I have, like, a favorite sushi spot I hit up in Salt Lake.
What's your favorite sushi spot?
Simply Sushi.
Okay.
I hit that up any chance I get. The guy that owns it is a really cool guy.
And where are they located at for people?
4 North South.
Oh, right down by the liquor store.
Yeah.
Right by I know where the liquor store is. Anything in coordinates of where the liquor store is, that I'll be able to find it.
Us people who live in Utah, we're very familiar with the liquor stores.
Well, you know, the grid is all based off of the temple, but to me, the grid is all based off of the downtown liquor store. You know what I mean?
You tell people how to find you, like, I'm about 6 blocks from the liquor store. 6 blocks from
the liquor store, you know, a few stumbles to the left, but, so, I mean, you know, people listening to the podcast a lot of times, you know, they're new to Utah and Salt Lake. I mean, you would recommend check out.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff.
What would you recommend them to check out? Wise Guys.
Moe's Grill on Tuesday is a great place if you want to do comedy.
Well, they got great food there, by the way, too.
Yeah.
I actually have gone there for a burger a few times before any of their comedy nights. Great burgers.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of places to see comedy. Wise Guys, Thursdays, I go to Carroll's Cove and do this, like, little televised, like...
And where's Carroll's Cove at?
It's like 3,500 South.
Okay.
So, I do that every Thursdays with some of the local comics, and Crystal CC Chambers, like, heads that up. So that's really fun to do. And then I'll, like, this Thursday, I got to hit up Paper Moon, so that's another fun place to do.
And that's a lesbian bar.
Yeah.
So you probably fit in well there.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get hit on by the ladies thinking you were
thought, like,
were
I was afraid to do the chubby lesbian joke there. I was like, oh shit, if they find out I'm not a chubby lesbian, they're going to kick my dick in, you know?
Do you get any phone numbers, though, from any lesbians?
No. I'm so afraid to hit on chicks at a lesbian bar. Not because of them. Gay people are amazing. And, like, it's really hard to, like, I'm sure to live here sometimes, but they're so, like, open and kind to people. Like, it was, like, I wanted to go up to girls who, like, I thought maybe straight, but it's like, that's a hard game to play at the
at a lesbian bar.
You know? You want to go up to, like, hey, you're really cute. And she's like, I'm into pussy. Get the fuck out of here. So Paper
Moon has open mic.
Yeah.
Open comedy.
Yeah, they do comedy.
On Thursday nights?
Thursday nights. I think it starts at 10. Wise Guys has a really good open mic on Wednesdays at 7:30. That's always fun. But besides comedy, I mean, there's a lot of fun things to do. Like, there's always these, like, diverse festivals going on. I mean, they have, like, I think on, what was it, St. Patrick's Day, they had, like, a pub crawl or something.
You know, I actually thought about doing a pub crawl, like an I Am Salt Lake pub crawl.
I would definitely go to that.
Wouldn't that be fun? I don't know.
I say fucking do it.
And invite everybody who's ever been on the podcast to say, come on out. You know, it'd be fun just to kind of mingle with all the different people I've had on the show. I think that would be really fun to do.
I would do it. Let me know. I would love to be a part of that.
I'll let you know. Maybe here over the summer. I mean, that's when the city becomes alive.
It really does. It's, like, everyone's
downtown.
Everybody's so, like, sheltered in the wintertime, and I don't blame them.
Well, we become angry.
Oh, yeah. I fucking hate being cold.
Snow. You got to shovel. You know? That's what I like about living in an apartment building. I don't have to shovel. You know?
Oh, yeah.
It's like I could sleep in until the last minute, and I hear the guy out shoveling. I don't have to go help him, you know? That's what
we were talking about before we came in. Yeah. Like, it's so good to have an apartment. So everything's taken care of. Something breaks down, you got someone to fix it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And screw home ownership. You know,
right?
What do you need to own a home for?
What the fuck are you going to do with all that space anyways, you bastards?
Well, yeah, you become a hoarder. You know?
I know, really.
Yeah.
The only good thing about, like, having a house is parties. That's the only thing I see.
And parties and owning animals and I mean, I could have a party here as long as things wrap up by 10 o'clock, you know, that's
I probably
quiet
couldn't
hours.
Be here. You know, I'm a chubby man, so, you know, I'm going to be bumping into people.
It's a small space, but, you know, it gets the work done.
You can make a great party out of any area you're in. You know?
You listen to a lot of podcasts too.
I do.
We talk podcasts. I mean, before we wrap up the show here, I'm big into promoting podcasts because I think more people should listen to them.
Yeah.
What are a couple of your favorites?
This one, of course, I'm a fan of this one as well.
And I don't expect that. You don't have to.
You don't, but it's good to hear.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to hear. What are some other favorites?
Like I said, I'm a really big movie nerd. So how did I get made? How did this get made is one of my favorite ones. The Chewing It with Steve Lemmy and Kevin Heffernan are really good. The Mark Maron one, like WTF, is really good. Nerdist has some really good stuff. I love listening to podcasts and just listen to people like talk, like the famous people just telling their stories. Like it really humanizes them too.
It does. It puts you. Did you listen to one of the recent Nerdist with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah,
did you get a chance to listen to that episode?
I try not laughing my ass off because I listened to 10 Min Pod, which Will Sasso does his like Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to get out of my head. It's not Will Sasso on 10 Min Pod.
That was a fascinating interview. I was just like, wow, it makes Arnold just seem like a normal dude.
It really does. And he was funny. Like, he's a funny dude.
Yeah.
Like a year ago, like I tried to start my own podcast. I'm still trying to do it. So I'd ask people like, what's some good podcasts to listen to? So I had people like suggest yours, Geek Show. I stumbled across the How Did This Get Made because it's got two of the guys from the league in it. Let's see what else. 10 Min Pod, Michael Schooley, another great local comic, told me about that one. After seeing TJ Miller, I got into his podcast, The Cashing In with TJ Miller.
Great podcast, by the way.
Laugh my dick off every time I hear that one. It's so funny. I really like the ones that are funny and like adhere to the geeky stuff I like, whether it be movies or comedy. I love just listening to comics talk. Yeah. That's like one of the best things about being a comedian. Not only going on stage, but like getting together and talking with your fellow comedians before or after.
Do you think listening to an interview with a comedian, it helps you maybe relate a little bit more with yourself being a comedian, saying, hey, this person was a normal guy, just like I am. And they were able to make it successful and finding out their story a little bit.
Yeah. Like you really learn a lot about people. Like I just got into like, Paul Dwayne's podcast.
Which one is that?
The Paul Dwayne Show.
Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. Local guy.
Local
Paul. I was like, why does that name ring a bell? Paul Dwayne. Oh, local guy.
I saw him at Paper Moon on Thursday, so we were chit-chatting. And I listened to the Marcus one and the Christian Piper one. And that it's good to know like stuff you don't know about your local comics.
Dude, that's why I do this. That's why, hopefully, people can learn a little bit about Christopher James.
Yeah.
How can people find you? How can people connect with you? I mean, I appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me and giving me an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better.
I'm a very mysterious guy. A lot of people don't know a lot about me.
Hopefully, this will even help our friendship out a little bit.
I would think
more.
so.
You know what I mean?
We had a good time chit-chatting before the show.
Yeah.
People can find me, Twitter, of course, at Fat Guy Punchline.
Okay, so do you tweet a lot?
So they can. I like to do little jokes like throughout the day, so I'll do the hashtag CJ Jokes. I'm on Instagram like Christopher James Comedy. Facebook, I just started a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/fatguypunchline. I'm trying to get like more. I love networking through the social networks, so I've been trying to get that more and more as I'm doing comedy. Like I'll film like my little open mic set so people can get a taste of that. Like I like to do my little jokes on Twitter, like with the whole hashtag CJ Jokes I just said, and Instagram. I like just taking pictures of funny things and like joking about that. Like I took a picture of a guy at the bus stop who was asleep on one of those giant electrical boxes, and so I try to like think of little funny things about that. Like, oh, I guess he took planking too seriously. And then, like, on Twitter, people can see another hashtag that I've been doing as well. So on Facebook, it's the hashtag 52BLC. I don't know how much time we have.
No, my podcast has no limits.
Okay.
That's, we got all the time in the world.
So last year, I had a really depressing time, and I ended up almost committing suicide. And it took me a moment to step back and realize that I have a better life than I give myself. Some shit from my past came up, and it really, I was worried I was going to lose everything. I was going to lose my job. I was going to have to stop doing comedy. And I was sitting there, and I was, planning my death, basically. And I had to, say, whoa. I had to take a step back and say, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm planning, all these ways to tell people goodbye. I'm planning on just, ending my life. And that, taking a step back and, saying, holy shit, I've got a better life than I give myself. Who gives a shit what happens from the past? I only have the future to look forward to. So for a few months towards the end of the month, or towards the end of the year, I want to say from August till October is when that whole shit happened. So my whole New Year's Eve resolution is to live more. So I have this little book of bucket list items, things I've always wanted to do in my life. And over the years, I've been filling it out, but I've never done any of them. I've done a few things here and there, but only by a whim. So my whole New Year's resolution of living more is to do 52 things out of that bucket list. So,
and are you doing them?
This is one of them. This is number 47, the interview.
Number 47?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to be.
Orny Adams was, his show was number 101, open for a famous comedian show. You know, I have little things like, always wanted to eat a donut with a cop. So I'm trying to work that out.
And so you haven't done that one yet?
I haven't done that one yet. I always wanted to,
so if there's any police officer listening.
Yeah, anybody who wants to help out with that. Drop you a
message on Facebook and say, well, what if I dress up as a cop?
I don't know. I feel like it has to be authentic. You know, like I have this.
Well, we could get the handcuffs out and.
Whoa, wait.
Yeah. I got some fuzzy handcuffs.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways, what, yeah. So your bucket list.
So I have one, about that. I always wanted to dress up in a chicken costume and go to KFC and order food and eat dinner there. And I have other random things too, like.
And did you haven't done that one yet?
I haven't done that. That's still in the works. And I've told friends about this whole little bucket list challenge, and they've told me I should film it and put it on YouTube. So I'm debating about doing that. Because that sounds like it would be a little interesting thing. It'd be like that whole 30 days thing with Morgan Spurlock kind of thing, you know? This is kind of just a personal thing I want to do for myself, you know?
It seems like a person could learn a lot from creating just a bucket list in general, because I think it makes it less intimidating than goals. I think so many people are afraid of goals, you know, because it's like, oh, what if I can't achieve that goal?
Well, that's what I love about this bucket list aspect that I'm doing. The greatest inspiration for me is life. Living life is always going to be the greatest inspiration for anything. Inspiration for my jokes, for my writing. So just the more that that's why I want to live more and do that stuff. Because last year, like I said, I didn't live at all. I was almost ending my life. So the whole 52. Do you
think you wanted to, because you weren't, like you said, you weren't living life? Shit was depressing.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why I went, because the whole reason why I chose 52. There's 52 weeks in a year. The more that I live, the more stories and experiences I'm going to have. So, I mean, if there's anyone out there who feels like they're not living life to their full potential, do what I do. Just make a bucket list and do 52 this year. And that's what I do. I've got 3 or 4 that I'm doing, that I've done so far. So, I mean, it's only March, so I still have the whole year to do it.
But you're going to continue on after this year.
I'm definitely going to I've got over 400 things in that little book that I've written over the past 5 years.
Yeah.
My whole thing is, and they're little dinky things, you know, they're take a picture of the Hollywood sign, or, get married, stuff like that. I mean, now that I'm starting to do this whole New Year's resolution thing and I'm in the right mind, I'm finally happy with my life. I'm finally embracing everything. As soon as January hit, that's when I decided I got to hit every stage that I can. And ever since I've been doing that, things have been happening. I got to do Steve McAnally's comedy roast at Club DJs in January. I got to do my first headlining gig. And that was awesome. I've got to meet all these other comedians that I wouldn't have met just by sticking to one place. It's the more you expand things and more you live life and network, the more experiences you're going to have. That's why doing this whole bucket list thing has been really helpful. It's been therapeutic to me as well.
Yeah.
If I ever get in that depressing thing, I can just look in that book and say, I need to do something right now. I need to cross something off this list. And the more things that I cross off, the closer I get to that goal, the better I feel about myself. By the end of this year, I'm going to feel accomplished. I'm going to have all these 52 great stories that I've had.
You should write a book about that.
That's what I thought about. I thought about doing that.
Through your year's experience, through all the different things that you've done through the year.
I thought about that. I think at the end of the year, I'm going to see how things turn out. And
are you journaling it at all? Are you a big
I got that
writer?
little book. So I have a album on my regular Facebook that's just called The Big 52. So people can look at the things I've done. I've read an inspirational book. I've opened for someone at Wise Guys. I opened for Spencer King, so that was a random number. Opening for Orny's one. Having an amazing, great week where I did a show. I got to meet Janine Garofalo and Greg Barrett. That whole week was amazing. So that was number 162, I think. So that was an amazing, have a great, amazing week was that one. And that was a great experience too. I've always had this crush on Janine Garofalo. So meeting her, I was kind of nervous, and I had kind of a funny experience with that. There was a guy behind me. I'm like, hey, can you take my picture? He's like, sure. So I brought my Mystery Men DVD covers and Truth About Cats and Dogs because I love that movie. And so I had her sign them, And the guy, like, behind me who's taking my picture afterwards, he's like, while I was still chit-chatting with her, he's like, freaking Truth About Cats and Dogs. That's really great. That's a great movie. And I just blurted out right in front of her, that's my favorite Janine Garofalo movie. And she looked at me, she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's a great movie. If no one's ever seen that, see it. It's a great little quirky love story. And I've always had like a little bit of a crush on her growing up. And for 50, she still looks adorable.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say that flat out.
Do you like older women? You're a fan of the 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds?
Not really, but I mean...
if they're hot.
Sure.
Why not?
I mean, plus, she's so funny. I mean, she started out doing the Ben Stiller show. She has these little like random cameos, like Mystery Men is a great movie. She had a little cameo in What Planet Are You From? With Gary Shandling, I think his name is. And that's a hilarious movie too. It's just about a guy who is an alien from another planet full of men, and he has to go to Earth to seduce a woman so like our planet doesn't eventually like get to their like solar system and try to attack us. So they're trying to invade from the inside. So you think it's going to be really serious, and then he goes to the airport and he just spouts off these like cheesy pickup lines. Like he goes to these two girls and like, hey, are you guys twins? And there's this woman like doing one of those mission collective things. She's like, would you like to donate to the church? And he's like, hey, how much will $50 get me? And then his penis like vibrates, and like you just hear this, and he wrote and directed it, I believe. And there's so many like filmmakers that I'm like a fan of too, like Kevin Smith. I'm a huge fan of Kevin Smith. Do
you listen to his podcast?
I do.
Yeah, he's got so many to listen to.
That was another thing that helped me with like my whole depression. Is just listening to him talk about living life and just live it to your full potential. I listened to the whole Jay and Silent Bob Get Old. So that's a good one. That's a really inspirational one, I think. Like a little fun fact about me, I share my birthday with Kevin Smith and Wes Craven, another favorite filmmaker of mine.
There you go.
I grew up watching Nightmare on Elm Street. I fucking love it.
It's one of your favorite movies, huh?
Definitely one of my favorites.
Here's a fun fact about me. I've never seen one of those movies.
Are you serious?
Yeah. They're great. I've never seen any of those movies.
Robert Englund's amazing.
I need to watch those.
Those are and people like hearing that I'm a movie nerd always ask what's my favorite movie, and it's so hard for me to pinpoint just one.
Oh, it is. It is.
But I would say if I would pinpoint just one, High Fidelity would probably be one of those.
One of my all-time favorite movies.
I love Cusack.
Yeah,
the Q's, as I like to call him.
That was always a dream of mine, to have a record collection like he has.
I know, it's like
that
amazing.
Movie. Yeah.
I hope to have a movie collection just so huge like that. I've got like maybe.
What about VHS? You ever get into VHS movies? You ever, just for that nostalgic?
I gave away all my VHS movies.
I've always thought it'd be fun to get a VCR and
does anybody have those anymore?
Well, you find one at DI or something, And I mean, because you can get the movies for 50 cents. I just thought, how epic would that be to have a wall of VHS movies and bring a girl over, and she would be like, oh, that's a sweet VHS collection you have there.
That's what I love about my movie collection, because if I go on a date with a girl and we end up watching a movie at my place, my like movie collection is basically like art to me. It's like a decoration. It's like a decor. So they'll pick out a movie, and I don't judge, but I like to gauge what kind of a personality a girl has by what movie she picks out.
You could tell a lot.
Yeah.
Especially if they're, I mean, how many movies do you think you have? 100, 150?
As OCD as I am, I think I have about 350.
Okay. So out of 350 movies, for them to pick one movie, I mean, that tells a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, that's actually the whole podcast thing I want to do. Is derivative from my movie collection. So a little nerdy thing about me, as much as I watch movies, I like to theme every week of a movie that I'll watch. Like this week, I've been doing a whole Will Ferrell thing, so I've been watching a lot of Will Ferrell movies. And that's kind of like what I wanted to do with my whole thing when I get that started, like do like a movie nerd podcast. And each week we do a theme about a movie, like I was telling you earlier, like the what the shit scary movies, or dick punch movies, which would be movies that I'd rather punch myself in the dick than watch, or like buddy movies or stuff like that, or like great as a kid but fucked up as an adult movie, like Little Monsters, like it's a kid movie, but if you watch it as an adult,
that's the one with Fred Savage, isn't it? Little Monsters,
yeah. Howie Mandel like pisses in an apple juice bottle and some kid drinks it. It's like, that's fucked up.
Well, if you ever get this movie nerd podcast, I'd love to be part of it.
I would love to have you on.
I'd love to. I mean, just sit in on an episode.
That is actually another bucket list item, and I definitely need to do
that. Talk silly movies and Air Bud. I mean, there was a movie I'd love to sit and talk about and dissect for an hour.
I could probably do like an episode like dog movies who are probably dead by now. Good old Lassie movie.
What's the worst movie you've ever seen?
Oh God, that's that's almost like asking me like how what my favorite movie is. Worst movie
recently in the last 30 days. In the last 30 days, what's the worst movie you've ever that you saw in the last 30 days?
Worst movie I saw in the last 30 days. That is so tough.
Well, then forget it. I mean, I'm sorry I ever asked you.
I'm so OCD. I have to think of it. But if I would say the last movie I saw in the last 30 days, that was, or in a while, and I'm probably going to get huge shit for this because I'm a Superman fan, but I didn't really like Man of Steel. I didn't like it.
No, see, and I didn't see that one yet. Pretty bad.
To me, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or another movie that I saw.
Did you see American Hustle?
I haven't yet.
Yes, I wasn't impressed with it. And again, I'm going to probably get a lot of shit for that one. I wasn't. I mean, it was good. I followed the story, and it was all right, and they did a great job. But the way everybody hyped it up, I just didn't like it. I was just like, it's all right.
Actually, the last movie I watched that was really shitty, and I love Wes Craven's movies, and he wasn't a part of this. This is one of those shitty B-rated sequels. It was Wishmaster 3. Yeah.
It sounds horrible.
Yeah, well, Wishmaster 1 and 2 are great. Same main character. Wes Craven wrote the first one. The second one I don't think he was a part of, but it was still the same main guy. And you know how those movies that they're great, that they'll spawn all these shitty B-rated sequels? And it's not even the same actors. They try to hype it up with nudity, And that's one of those as soon as it hit the third one, it's let's just have a bunch of tits and sex and derive from the storyline.
Well, that's why I go to see a movie, is for some tits.
Well, yeah, but you can always go to a strip club and do that too.
Well, not in Utah.
Yeah, there's a couple places. Strip clubs. The first strip club I went to was in Wendover, of all places. There's one down there that's in a strip mall.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been there, but that's on the Utah side.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So you would expect a little bit more out of a strip club in Wendover.
Well, I went to that one, I think it's called Showgirls in 3500 South. And there was something that happened there my first time there that actually got written into my little call center movie about me, and a couple of my buddies were there. And then, I have those little island stages.
Yeah.
So me and my buddies go there. We're a little tipsy, and I went to go pay the bill with my buddy. And I look around, and my other buddy is sitting there asleep in the chair while this poor girl, is dancing on the island, little stage. And he's just sitting there snoring. And no other people were at that island. It's just her dancing. And you can see
for a guy that's snoring.
Yeah. And me and my other buddy who the fuck falls asleep at a strip club? So I wrote that in a little call center screenplay. And it was hilarious. And he's just sitting there snoring, and we go up to him. He's like, what's going on? What?
Was he just so drunk? Is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was hilarious. That's why I love, like I said, life's the biggest inspiration.
You never know. I mean, every day you wake up, you don't know who's going to email you, who's going to call you, who's going to text you, what fun adventures you're going to have. You don't know.
Well, a lot of the jokes I joke about are things I've either experienced or noticed. There's this one joke about how I go to the tracks stop to go to Front Runner. And every day during the week in the morning, I see this guy who walks from the Front Runner to get on the tracks, but he doesn't take his pass out. He grabs his ass and sets it down on the thing for the tap on, tap off thing. And then walks away. But when he does it, he notices that I'm looking at him, and he gives me this creepy maniacal smile, just nods his head yeah.
He's like, you're checking out my ass.
But the guy grabs his ass and lowers it down like he's about ready to squat on a dick. It's creepy. But he does it. It's why don't you just take your fucking pass out of your pocket and tap it off like everybody else? But there are people who don't even take out their passes. They try to hit their backpack with it, or girls won't how they love to put shit in their cleavage. They'll just try to touch their boobies to the on and off top or tap on pass thing. How hard is it to take it out of your pocket and tap it? So I do a little joke about that. And it's just, the things, I had this one experience where I saw this guy trying to cross a street near my place. It was 6 a.m. And I see this guy trying to run across traffic. And I'm like, oh man, I hope I don't have to deal with this guy. Sure enough, I do. I get to the bus stop. I'm sitting there. I always wear my headphones so I don't have to deal with people. But this guy's like nervously pacing in front of me while at the bus stop. And he's like waving his hands. I take my headphones off. He's like, hey man, can I talk to you for a second? I just need to get something off my chest. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. He's like, I just got through I just found out that my wife's fucking this trucker. So I went to this truck that's parked in the parking lot over there, and I kicked it and hit on it, but no one would answer. And I could hear them talking, and I know my wife's fucking this trucker. I know it.
That's when you need to have a recorder out and record that for a podcast or something.
If you fucking pull something out like that or take their picture, they'll fucking stab you. So, I'm just sitting there listening,
Have you ever had anybody pull a knife or a gun on you? I mean, because I know you take public transportation a lot. So, any crazy stories?
No, I just put my headphones on and listen. But this guy, he was just going off. He's like, yeah, I don't know. Should I go back and just try to fucking break that thing open and try to get some answers? And I wanted the guy to get away from me. So I'm like, yeah, do it, man.
Yeah.
Stand your ground.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I can't. I have to go to work and I can't get my girl back if I don't have a job. And in my head, I'm like, why the fuck would you want to get your wife back if she's banging some dirty trucker,
Yeah.
So it's just a situation like that. I feel like a UTA therapist for some people, because people will come up to me and just tell me about their life, and get advice from me for no reason. So I want to have them lay down on the little bench there, okay, I'll pull out a little notepad, yo, tell me, how's your day going? Good. All right. Yeah, you should definitely get off drugs. That's probably a great thing. No, your wife probably isn't sleeping with another man. It's just you being insecure. There's so many things I've seen taking the bus. I did a little tweet today about how I feel like taking the bus is experiencing what it would be like if Walmart was mobile, It's and I did a little hashtag people of UTA,
You could start a little blog about people of UTA with the photos.
I did. That's where that little planking thing was at
a
bus stop. Twitter is just basically a blog anyways, so.
And 140 characters.
That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
It really is. I did one, I submitted to the, little, cash levy with TJ Miller's show, because they do their little Ask the Masters, which is Ask the Masters. So I did this one, I tweeted to him, what would you call jerking off with maple syrup? Or syrup? Would you call it a maple feel-up or a Canadian handshake? And I had to, slender that down with the hashtags and everything. And even with the jokes I write with the hashtag CJ jokes, I gotta slim those down, because there's so many times I want to be descriptive with the punchline at the same time. So I have to still I wish they would expand that,
You have a hard time with that 140 characters.
Sometimes, yeah. That is a challenge as a writer to get everything in.
And then you feel like a douchebag when you use before, and then you all see you later, those type of people.
I always feel douchey when I hashtag stuff.
I just don't, when people send me a text and they're they spell out things with just letter. I don't know. That's probably you.
Oh, no.
No.
I am very descriptive in text.
Yeah. You were sending me some pretty descriptive texts before you came on. I was like, I don't need to know what, gosh.
But it was entertaining all at the same time.
It's personal. But had a great time chatting with you.
Me too. It is an honor, not only as a fan, to be here as a listener as well.
Yeah. No, I want to bring you back on the show. I mean, I think you could have we should create a segment, UTA tracks fun moments with Christopher James. You know what I mean?
We can even do the whole Stratego dating shit like we were talking about earlier. That could be a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah. But anything else you want to add before we close out here? I appreciate it. I'm going to put all the links on the show notes to follow you on Facebook and Twitter. I'm sure you'll post anytime you do open mics there.
Yeah, I always I just created my little comedian page on Facebook. That's the best way to find me. There's the facebook.com/fatguypunchline, Twitter, Instagram if you want to see some funny, fucked up pictures that I do. I just took a picture of, I saw this banner poster for a Netflix documentary about Mitt Romney. I took a picture of me flipping it off and say I love expressing myself about dumb shit, That will probably get me in trouble, but no, I mean just come support local comedy. I mean, not just to see me, but the other comics that are around here. There's a lot of great comedians besides myself who do local comedy. Like I said, Monday, Jackson Banks and Jonathan Falconer have that thing at the U. Tuesdays, you can see me at Moe's Grill in Salt Lake. Wednesdays, you can see me at Wise Guys West Valley doing open mic. Thursday, the whole Carroll's Cove thing in 3500 South, to watch a live taping of that. I'm going to start hitting up Paper Moon pretty soon as well. Fridays, I don't really do any comedy, but
it's for the night with the ladies.
Yeah.
Take a lady out.
Yeah, ladies.
All right, many thanks goes out to Christopher James for coming over, chatting, getting to know him a little bit better. Follow him on Facebook and Twitter. That way you guys could stay up to date on where he is doing his any of his stand-up comedy, and check out anything this guy's involved with. I'd love to know your feedback. Drop me an email at iamsaltlake@gmail.com. Any feedback about this episode or any other episode that you might have been listening to of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. I'd love to know who's listening, who's out there, and what you're thinking of the podcast. And if you'd like to come on the show, possibly, drop me an email. That's going to do it for this episode. I got another episode coming out this week. I've been having some great conversations. Not sure what day that's going to drop, but make sure you're subscribing in iTunes. Get out, support the sponsors of this podcast, Peach Treats, the Urban Lounge, and Crucial Fest. Support local businesses. Keeps our community alive. Get out and enjoy the city. It's getting to be a beautiful time of the year here to live in Salt Lake City, Utah. You guys have a great evening, a great day, whatever time of day it is. And we'll catch you guys again on a future episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.